I do love it when I get to chat with a business owner who's successfully competing with a huge corporation. It's a David versus Goliath episode 498 of the award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reed.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of marketing muscle. I'm your host, Timbo Reed. You, infinitely more importantly, you're a motivated business owner and you are ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. And that's exactly what we do around here. Plus, you can join our free Facebook group for some ongoing accountability and support. Just search for the Small Business Big Marketing Tribe on Facebook. Big episode today. Spriggy co-founder Mario Hazanakos shares how he's built an online banking app for kids that in just 5 years has surpassed Commonwealth Bank's Dolomites brand. That, for overseas listeners, that is no mean feat. That's a significant brand that's been around for decades. And I'll tell you what's happening for episode 500, or actually remind you, because I told you last week. As per usual, team, there's marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Thank you to all of you who have emailed me in questions for episode 500. If you didn't hear last week's episode, what I'm doing in 2 episodes' time is turning the show over to you. You can email me a question, maybe some constructive criticism, maybe a thought on what the show's done for your business. You can email me an audio file if you want to, or I'll read it out on the air. But either way, send it to tim@timreed.com.au. Put 500 in the subject line, then I'll know what it is. And I'll be emailing my list as well, putting it out on social media and getting as many questions as I can, really. And that can be about, well, be about my personal life, maybe. It'd be about my business life, definitely. You might have a question about your business, for sure, or something else. But we're going to turn episode 500 over to you. Righto, let's meet today's wonderful, successful business owner. Mario Hazanakos is the co-founder of Spriggy, an online banking concept to help parents teach kids about money. Boy, oh boy, do I wish I had that as my kids were growing up. Since launching in 2017, Spriggy has enjoyed huge success, opening over 400,000 accounts and helping countless Australian families set their kids up for financial success in what you got to say is a digital future where, like, cold hard cash is unlikely to exist in any great amounts. Prior to founding Spriggy, Mario worked in investment banking for 7 years, with breaks to pursue projects in technical diving and mountaineering. He holds degrees in quantum physics. He's a smart fellow. Quantum physics, computer systems engineering, and international relations, and has a passion for using technology in education to change the world. I started off by asking Mario to explain his unconventional career so far.
I think, like a lot of people who start their own business, I have a pretty short attention span.
Oh, welcome to that club.
I certainly share that with my business partner. I come from a not so well-off background. I had a family who was really passionate about education, especially my father went to great lengths to emphasize how important it was to get a good degree and get a good job, and certainly walked that path. And we've gotten a lot of opportunities in life as a result. And I think when it comes to physics, it was just something that I loved growing up. And I was all set to do my physics PhD, but as it happened, there was a break between when I would finish in Australia and then start my PhD in the Northern Hemisphere. And I wanted to travel more than anything. I had no money though. So I got the highest paying job I could find, which happened to be working in finance. And then serendipitously, it was the same time as the financial crisis here in Australia in 2008. So that was a whole interesting time. I got carried away with that and I circled back to some of those travel aspirations a little later.
Okay. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole here, but were you kind of satisfying, which many of us do in those younger years, you're satisfying a need of your parents as opposed to pursuing something that you truly wanted to do? So you went and did your quantum physics and, ticked all those boxes?
Look, I think that's certainly a part of it. We live in pretty extraordinary times. We live in an era now where pretty much anyone can get their hands on really accessible technology and build awesome businesses. I talk to people who maybe started their business 15, 20 years ago, and it was a very different thing back then. A lot of the off-the-shelf pieces that we use to build technology businesses today didn't exist back then. And I think I had to go out and learn that a little. Like, I grew up in a time where, probably the end of the era, where the best thing you could do with your education is go get a job at a multinational firm and climb the ladder. And I think it took me a few years to realize for myself that there's actually this whole world of opportunity out there on its own, that we live in these times when kind of anybody can make anything. And that's so super exciting. I almost feel like I wish I realized that when I was 21 instead of 31.
Yeah, so Mario, I've got a 21-year-old son, and only this week we are sitting down together and having a discussion about how to make the most of this incredible era that we live in. Like, he is growing up right in the middle of a time when he can make money online from a number of different ways. He's a photographer, so he's got an offline business. But we're going to have that discussion. And you're right. I mean, you can start businesses that you couldn't have started, 10, 20 years ago. We can do marketing that we couldn't have done 10, 20 years ago for, the cost of not a lot of dough. It's incredible.
So very true. Definitely see the same thing ourselves.
Yeah, love it. Well, we're going to talk more about that. But let's talk about where the idea for Spriggy came from. Who or what inspired it?
Well, my business partner and I at the time were working in that investment banking job, and I think we were it was right in the middle of the financial crisis, right at a time when there were so many acute things happening in the system and a lot of people experiencing distress from not having literacy with their money, not being familiar with the financial products that they use. I mean, we've seen everything that has happened here in Australia with a recent investigation into the conduct of Australia's banks, and there were a lot of people really worse off because their financial literacy was really low. And living in an era of technology emerging to really change the way financial services work, we thought, why can't my bank account be as smart as my Netflix account or my Amazon account? Why can't my bank account help me make better financial decisions and be happier about money along the way? So that's the idea we came together on, this idea of let's build better financial products for people that make them happier about money, such a source of stress and anxiety. And what's the one financial product that everyone uses? Well, it's a bank account. So that's where we started. Our original idea was to do it for adults, to work with people like us, our age, 20s to 30s, to give them a better bank account to help them make better decisions. That would only be a short-lived idea. We moved very early in our journey, pivoted over from working for adults to working for kids, because we realized that if you wanted to make a difference to the way people made financial decisions, you had to start a lot younger, and you had to help parents help raise more financially healthy kids. And that was how Spriggy was born.
So how does Spriggy work?
The Spriggy product that we have today is a prepaid card for young people, ages 6 to 18, with a mobile banking app that parents and kids use together. So both parents and children have their own separate logins. Parents can link any bank account or debit card to add funds onto the Spriggy platform. And from the Spriggy platform, they can pay pocket money to their kids. They can see where their kids are spending. They get live push notifications with information about the transaction, including where it was. They are able to set up savings goals for their kids, so money that's segregated and protected from spending. The kids themselves have their own app login, so they can set money aside between spending and saving. They can complete chores to earn extra pocket money. The cards themselves are protected from spending in age-inappropriate places. And together, parents can give links to family and friends for them to pay money onto the kid's card. We've got functionality that helps parents who are separated and have joint custody of a child be able to manage pocket money. It's really a way for parents to safely give kids the responsibility to make their own spending and savings decisions, but doing it in a way where parents get enough supervision that they can be comfortable that their kids are safe at the same time.
It's not a community service, Mario, so how does Spriggy make money?
Well, we're big believers that you can make a positive difference in the world and be profitable at the same time. And a profitable business is one of the best ways that society has to organize a whole bunch of people to do something really important. Right now, we charge a subscription fee to our families who use the service. So parents will pay a $30 annual fee after they've used the product for a free trial period. And it's always been really important to us for the way that Spriggy makes money to be really clear and transparent for our families. Financial services is riddled with a whole bunch of service providers, for better or worse, who make their money in really opaque ways. We've always wanted to build our product in a way that was really clear what parents were getting and what they were paying for it. And that subscription fee has been very successful to date.
So just to be clear, it's $30 a year for the parent pays, and that's Spriggy's revenue?
That's right.
Wow.
You pay $30 per child account. So if you have more kids, then it's a higher fee. But yeah, that's where our revenue comes from.
So really interesting. I only watched last night on YouTube this shop in New York that sells dollar pizza slices, and the two brothers who own it. It's called Two Bros in New York, and I thought I've got to interview these guys because it's a volume-based business. They have to sell a hell of a lot of pizza slices every day, to make a decent living. Very similar business. Spriggy's a very similar business. You must have to have a lot of members in order for it to be cash flow positive.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, our mission, our vision, Spriggy, is to bring it to as many families as possible. We've launched here in Australia, and since launching 3 years ago, we've added 400,000 parents and kids onto the platform across hundreds of thousands of families. And for us, we're just getting started, both in Australia and then one day to take the whole operation overseas. And I think that's important to our mission as well. If we want to help raise a generation of healthy kids, both here in Australia and overseas, a part of achieving that is going to be taking our product really widely and making it accessible for as many families as we can.
You mentioned the Banking Royal Commission that we had in Australia recently. I imagine, and you say, you're operating in a very transparent way, not opaquely, as many of the other financial institutions are. What else has the Royal Commission kind of forced you to do or encouraged you to do from a distance? Because you weren't part of the Royal Commission, but you've obviously been watching it with some interest.
Yeah, that's right. I think that the difference it makes the most for us is right on the ground. I think how it affects everyday families' perceptions of financial services companies and whether those companies have their best interests at heart. An idea that we talk about a lot at Spriggy is the difference between different kinds of trust. I think financial institutions have historically been thought of as very trustworthy institutions. But there are different kinds of trust. There is institutional trust, where you believe that if you put your money in that bank, that you'll be able to get it out tomorrow. And that's a very serious matter. And there are regulators in Australia wholly devoted to ensuring that that remains the case and confidence in society remains high. But in modern times, there's a different kind of trust. It's popularly called associative trust in financial services. This idea that not only is my money safe, but the institution who holds it has my best interests at heart. And that's a very different kind of trust. And I think if the Royal Commission taught us anything, it's this idea that modern financial institutions, at least the incumbents, are very low on associative trust. There's this widespread and widely held distrust that those institutions have their best interests at heart. And I think that's an opportunity for new players. That's a place where if you can prove that you really are built for, in our case, the families that we serve, you can earn a special place in their life much more quickly than you might have. And I think the Royal Commission only compounded that view that was emerging well before it started.
So you're coming with Spriggy, 5 years old, so clearly, and with, 400,000 parents and kids, you are established, but you are coming off a very low bar in an industry where establishing trust is critical and I imagine very difficult. Now, I've spoken to many e-commerce businesses over the years on this show. One of the things that they do to establish trust is various trust icons on their website, whether they be, a Google partner or whether it be, guaranteed overnight delivery or whatever it may be, reviews, testimonials on the website. What are the kind of fundamental things you've done with Spriggy? Because it's not with all respect, it's not yet a household name.
Not yet.
Not yet. So what have you done to establish that trust very quickly?
I think it's an excellent question and speaks really to the heart of how we've been able to get the foothold as quickly as we have in our market. I think first and foremost, it's built from the team and the mission out. And we've always been really clear about why we do what we do. And maintaining our independence in almost a way that reverses expectations. Being clear that we're not associated with any bank has gone a long way to getting people to consider us. And then after that, I think your trust really comes from your product. We've always taken it super seriously, how important it is that the product works as expected all the time. We're talking about digital pocket money, which for many families is maybe $10 a week for a child. And that's a comparably small amount of money, but it's in a place where there is absolutely no room to get it wrong. If you built a product that would occasionally misplace mum's pocket money for their son and their son wasn't able to buy lunch that day, any hope that you would have of building trust with your families evaporates. So we've probably gone slower than we would have liked because that was always non-negotiable for us. It was always super. In startups, they like to talk about build fast and break things. That's true until the day that it isn't. And I would offer that making sure that kids get their pocket money and are able to eat lunch each day is one of those spaces where there's no room to break things. And I think that builds out into the social proof that you get. When you get that bit right, and you genuinely solve a problem in families' lives, they're always going to be willing to tell their friends about it. And that is the highest kind of praise that a family would put their name and credibility on the line, telling another family about how much Spriggy had made a difference in their lives. If you don't start with a true purpose and you don't have a product that fulfills that purpose, it's very hard to have that authentic sharing mechanism, which has done so much to help us grow so fast.
Do you seek that social proof, and if so, how?
Very much. So we try wherever possible inside the Spriggy product where we feel like we've given a good experience to families to encourage them to review Spriggy. So, if you jump onto the iOS App Store, you'll see tens of thousands of reviews for the Spriggy product.
Wow.
And it starts to look weird, right? If you put the Spriggy banking app next to a major bank's banking app, you probably see that we have 10 to 100 times the amount of 5-star reviews that they do. And that's a function of the fact that building that social proof has always been important to us. It's super important that it's authentic. I guess there's a handful of tactics you could pursue to just drive a headline number of reviews and that's it. But that's never really, it's been super important that when people do share their story about Spriggy, they do it in a way that's real for their family. It takes more time and effort to do it that way, but then it starts to build this swell of perception around the product that only amplifies itself as you get bigger and bigger. So that's always been really important to us in driving those reviews. And I think being smart about building your product in a way that when you do offer a great experience back to families, you give them a prompt to go and tell everybody else about it at the same time.
Well, it just goes and reinforces what I interviewed. I was lucky enough to interview Seth Godin on the show about 3 weeks ago. And, the best marketing is a great product and it comes up time and time and time again. So, you do that. And, people say, our best marketing is word of mouth. Well, my view is word of mouth's not marketing. Word of mouth's the result of great marketing or great product. So I get what you're saying. I just want to finish that discussion around trust because, again, you're operating in an industry that you must get it and establish it and hold it very quickly. But I think we all operate in industries where we want people to trust us. Can I put some words into your mouth by saying other ways you have developed trust at Spriggy? It's a very. I went to sign up. I obviously didn't go through the whole process because I don't have kids of the age that you're talking about. But it looked to be. Well, the website's beautiful. The actual visual branding is beautiful. Listeners, Mario didn't pay me to say any of this. These are my observations. It looked to be a very frictionless process in signing up, almost not fun, but an enjoyable process in signing up. And the cards that get sent to the kids have images of the stars from Frozen, from Star Wars, from DC comic superheroes. I mean, all this, I guess, as well, have been little tactics, not big tactics, you've used to garner trust.
Yeah, I think you're really right, Tim. We were drawn to the idea of customizing cards by our families. We had lots of mums and dads speaking on behalf of their kids, saying, gee, it'd be really cool if they could have their favorite character on the card, or they could make a card for themselves. And when it came to those particular characters, I'll probably admit that we were really blown away by the response that came from offering those special card designs. And in retrospect, it looks really, really obvious. I think that adding a trusted character to one of the key parts of the product would go a really long way to build a card. I think my co-founder once described it as if Batman thinks it's a good idea, it must be. And I think that's really wrong true. I think on its own, it's not enough. But I think when it's combined with a product that really solves a genuine problem and has a really authentic purpose to helping families teach kids about money, anything that can help get the kids involved and increase excitement levels will bring mum and dad along. It's been a tremendously successful promotion to date, and I think we'll be seeing a lot of it in the future.
I have no doubt. I mean, you buying the rights to use the images of those brands I just mentioned, I mean, that says so much. I mean, to me, that's immediate trust. It says these guys are big. They're not mucking around. And, you know, to Joe Public, they don't understand the concept of licensing. They may, for all intents and purposes, just go, wow, these guys are associated with Star Wars, you know, with Superman. This is cool. So, yeah, I think a genius move. You're listening to the award-winning Small Business Big Marketing Show, and we're chatting with quantum physicist, used to be an investment banker, now Spriggy co-founder, Mario Hazanakos. Mario, the name Spriggy, talk to me.
We actually started our project with the code name Piggy back before we had our presence in market. I think there was a sense that we got from our early customer validation that our parents were really looking for a modern version of the piggy bank that simplified a lot of our own childhoods when it came to learning about money. And I think we wanted what we did to tell a story that was a little more modern and a little more appropriate for the age that our kids are growing up in with Spriggy. So it's a portmanteau of the words spring and piggy, combining the idea of something that's new and youthful and more relevant for the modern age with something that played a big part in our lives growing up.
Are you happy with the name 5 years in?
Yeah, we really are. It's I think a lot of the listeners to the podcast will have an affinity for this. You spend your life working on something for 5 years and it becomes like a child. It's so important to you. We're exploring some concepts right now around extending the brand to some of the aspirations we have for building out the product to solve more and more of families' problems around money. And so we're considering aspects of touching up the brand. And it's just amazing how much emotional connection you have to a word. And in our case, a pig with glasses, it becomes a big part of who you are. So, and I don't think you can ever predict how that's going to work before you start. Picking a name is stressful enough as it is. I think if I take any lesson from it, that one of the great things about building a business is that you get to chart your own path, and whatever name you choose or branding you go with, you get to make that your own along the way. And it feels like a part of me, and I certainly know a part of many of the people in the business So how do I feel about it? It's very close to my heart.
I think you make a good point. I mean, I've been involved in naming workshops. I've watched from a distance as other business founders name their business, and it can be a bit heart-wrenching. And you get opinion. Everyone's got an opinion. The reality is, from what I can tell, is that just give it a name that you're proud to tell others when they say, "Hey, what's the name of your business?" or "What is it that you do?" But after that, it's the energy and the love and the resource that you put into that name that's going to make it appealing. And after all, as I always say, Apple used to be a piece of fruit.
Absolutely. That's wonderful advice, Tim, and I wish I could time travel back to the 2 or 3 days we wasted 5 years ago trying to come up with a name for ourselves.
I get it. So, Mario, you're a quantum physicist. Alex, your business partner, he's a mathematician. He's graduated in philosophy. Two smart blokes. You've had a bit of a dream run in getting Spriggy to market. Was there a moment when you've both looked each other in the eye and gone, "Oh, hang on, maybe we should go back to investment banking. This just isn't working"?
I think in any ambitious venture, you're always going to have times when you feel like you're right out there and things are out of control. And I certainly think we've had our fair share. Likewise, I think we've been very fortunate with how successful the business growth has been and how much of our success has been about being in the right time and the right place and being opportunistic about that. I think there's a wonderful aspect of having a business partner. For those people out there starting their own thing and doing it on their own, I have infinite respect. I think Alex and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the fact that the days when I felt like all was lost, he was there to calm me down and tell me to just keep going. And likewise, that I'm able to do that for him. I don't know how sole entrepreneurs do it. I have infinite respect for how they go about it. And I think that's one thing, a lesson that I've taken from this business of just how important it is that you have wonderful people around you. We're lucky enough now as the business has grown to have a team that's been with us for a while now. And I'm able to lean on them much the same way I was able to lean on Alex in the early days. And I think that's really critical, that those days when it all seems too much and you feel like quitting, I think are unavoidable. The best thing you can hope for is to grow a strong, thick skin for that and have people around you who can remind you that it's all going to be okay when things get hard.
I think the way solopreneurs do it, and I'm one of them, I operate, by myself, is you do surround yourself with good people, whether it be a formal coach or whether it be a mentor or a series of mentors. You may have a mentor around cash flow. You may have a mentor around HR. You may have a mentor around work-life balance and doing it that way. But yeah, I think that sounds awesome. The fact that you two have got such a sounds like an open and honest relationship. Do you have hard conversations with each other?
Yes. Unreservedly, yes. I think one of the best skills you can get. I used to play roller hockey when I was really young. That was my sport.
Roller hockey.
Seriously. Yeah. And I remember the first training session I ever went to. So the first training session of the year. And our coach, who became a really important figure in my life as I got older, his first drill in the first training session of the year was falling down and getting back up again. Not figuratively, like literally. We would all supposed to try and stay strong on our skates, and one of the coaches would come over and push us over, and we were only like 10 years old, so we all went over pretty easily. And then it was how to get up quickly. And I think I would ask him about it years later, and he's like, if you can't fall down and get up, then you've got no chance of ever being a successful player. I kind of think that's the same thing in business. If you aren't able to do the hard things and bounce back, your ability to cope with all the things that will come in the course of running a business is really fragile. And I think one of the best things that I have in my relationship with my business partner, Alex, is that we can have tough conversations. And there certainly have been moments where I think one of us has walked out of a room exasperated that they couldn't convince the other, or there's been some friction that's been difficult to deal with. But the fact that you can be honest with each other when things are hard and that you can survive those moments and be stronger for them is just such a source of strength, because now there's nothing you can't do together. So I think being able to have that relationship with whoever you work with, whether it's your business partner or the key people around in your team, is really critical.
We have a here we go. I'm going to get all personal here, but I have to because I'm a solopreneur. So, but in my personal relationship, my girlfriend and I have a thing we call awkward conversations. So we actually say, hey, I want to have an awkward conversation, and it kind of puts a smile on the other person's face, puts the fear of God in them too. But it's a really nice practice to have because it acknowledges that not all the time. Not all things are easy to talk about, and sometimes you just want to raise things that you think are going to be hard. But often when you do raise them, they're not as hard as you thought they were. Anyway, enough counselling. Tell me, Mario, your customers. You are an online business. You have no storefront yet. Talk about that. How well do you know your customers? And how do you sort of keep a finger on the pulse of what they're thinking besides just watching social threads?
I think it's right in our DNA from the very earliest of days. The way that we came to build Spriggy was a little indirect. We originally were building a better bank account for ourselves. That was the first vision. When we realized that didn't necessarily have the product market fit we needed to really invest in, we moved over to parents and kids. And in those early days, none of the people in the business were parents ourselves. We were always visitors to the land of the families that we served. And we were scrapping for survival at the time, just trying to find the right product market fit that would keep our business alive. And I think when you have that kind of existential desperation to understand your customers, there's almost nothing you won't do. We've done crazy things in the course of trying to understand and make our earliest families happy. I remember when we first stood up our product, so we had to pursue a reasonably novel path to be able to be a technology company that white labeled somebody else's capacity to hold funds and issue cards. And that really hadn't been done in Australia when we started. And so there were definitely some kinks in it when it first got started. Sometimes the cards wouldn't necessarily work the way that our parents expected. I remember once there was one family here in the Greater Sydney area who was trying to buy some makeup online for their young daughter, and the card didn't happen to work. So we, just in an effort to make sure the whole thing wasn't a letdown for them as an experience, we went and found the very items that they were trying to buy online from stores here in the city. They put them all in a gift box and drove the gift box out to them in person.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I think, and then we hung out in their living room and talked about what was important to them. And I think there's been hundreds of thousands really at this stage, conversations like that. I almost feel like an uncle to some families now, because they've been early trial families from the earliest of days. And every time we've released a new feature or look to change the product, we've gone and spent some time with them, and you do that enough and you become a part of their lives. I don't think we would be here without that. I don't think we did it because it was some really thoughtful tactic at the time, because we knew that that's what would be successful. We did it because we felt like if we didn't, we would have no chance. And then it becomes a habit. And when you start to hire people, you start to select for people who share that habit. And when they see you do it as a discipline, then it becomes a part of what they do. And then you look back in retrospect and it's a part of your culture. But I just think we couldn't do what we do if we weren't obsessed with the people who we're trying to solve a problem for.
I love that makeup story, Mario. It's it smells a bit of Zappos, if you know what I mean. The whole Zappos concept around customer service, where Tony Hsieh, who is the founder of Zappos, for those listeners who don't know who Zappos is, it's the biggest shoe company in the world, online shoe company in the world. They're based in Las Vegas. They have, I think, for every single one of their online customer service representatives, they're given a budget. I'm going to say it's $200. It could be actually a little bit more, but they can use that $200 with any customer at any time to, to placate a problem. And if that could be, sending them a pizza or sending them some flowers or doing whatever it takes to make people happy. And I think they're great. And they are. I mean, you do it not because you want to go viral or because you want people to talk about you. You do it because you want to satisfy that customer. But as a result, sometimes you go viral or sometimes you get talked about more than you ever thought. So it's an
Very
awesome
true.
strategy. Tell me about, is it possible in the future that we would see Spriggy branches on high streets around Australia?
I don't think so. You always hesitate to say no to things, but the reason I'm so confident is we've never been asked once by a customer, "Can I visit your branch?" We've been asked for customers
Yeah, right.
asked for things by customers many times. Some of the things are repeated and they're right there on our product roadmap, and they're a big part of what we're going to do. Some things are weird and wacky and at the fringes, and maybe we'll do them someday, maybe we won't. I feel like I can say for sure nobody's ever asked, "Can I come in to your
Interesting.
branch?"
Tell me, how many times do you have to be asked by a customer or a number of customers before you actually implement an idea? Are there sometimes when a customer says, "Hey, what about this?" and you and Alex just look at each other and I go, "That's a no-brainer, let's do it." Or it's like, "Hey, that's the 25th time a customer has suggested we do that, we better do it."
We have this rule that's pretty rule of 5, that if you do something 5 times, you should stop and ask whether you should be doing it a different way. I don't think you could achieve the scale that we've achieved unless you have this reflex to automate and turn into process things that you do over and over again. We just couldn't have gotten as big as we've gotten with the number of people that we've done it with without having that spirit at heart. I will say the number of things we've been asked 5 times for turns into a pretty big feature backlog. So I think you end up prioritizing one thing over the other, but that rule of 5 has always been a pretty core principle here, and I think has served us really well.
I like that rule of 5. Past guest Peter Lorimer a few weeks ago had the rule of 666, which was he was a real estate agent in Beverly Hills. He made 6 phone calls, 6 texts, and 6 LinkedIn messages a day to prospects. So we like these rules. We've got a new rule, the rule of 5. So Mario, just to finish up, Spriggy into the future. Brand extension, you talked at the top of the interview about wanting to take it overseas in its current form. Can you imagine Spriggy opening up kids' gyms around the country or a health food range, or where can Spriggy go?
Hey, geez, isn't a bad idea.
I like that.
I think we're very lucky in that our customer is super clear about what they want next. 90% of the parents who use Spriggy are mums. Keeping everything on track in home life. And I think they're one of the wonderful qualities of mothers, aside from their patience and how hard they work for their families, is that if they want something, they will tell you, and they'll be very clear about what it needs to be and how it can help them, which makes our product process pretty simple. I think one thing we've learned since we've launched the digital pocket money product and grown so fast is that when you solve that problem for parents, there's a whole bunch of other challenges they face in the course of raising kids. Any parent will tell you that it's an expensive undertaking. The statistics say that to raise 2 children in Australia, the median price is $800,000, and it's only going up. So in every one of those spending experiences and the money that gets saved for those experiences, parents glue together a whole bunch of old worlds, friction-filled, unpleasant experiences, and they do it because they love their kids and they stop at nothing to make their lives better and more hopeful. And I think we can deliver on that original promise that we started with all those years ago, that the services that you use to pay for things should help make your life better, and they should help make you less stressed about money. We feel like there's so many things we can do in helping parents save for their kids' future, or invest for their kids' future, or helping them make payments in schools, or simplifying the way that they do events, or offering them loyalty, cashback, discounts and rewards on the places that they spend. There are so many places where we can help parents have less stress and a simplified life when it comes to paying for the things that they pay for in the course of raising kids. So for us, the sky's really the limit. There's so much more we can do here in Australia. We've got some exciting new products coming soon. And I think when we prove that we can get that right, that we can solve more of parents' problems that they face in the course of raising kids, then there's a big wide world out there to take Spriggy to even more families around the world.
Awesome. Mario, great story. Congratulations to you and Alex on your first 5 years. Everyone else, Spriggy, spriggy.com.au is where you can go and log in and get your kids sorting out their financial concerns at a very early age. And, if you're an uncle or an auntie, you can do the same. Give a gift. Give the gift of financial security. I love it. Well done.
Thanks, Tim. Much appreciated.
Well, there you go. Spriggy co-founder Mario Hazanakos. Geez, I wish Spriggy was around when my kids were growing up. They could be supporting me right now instead of the other way around. Anyway, here's what grabbed my attention from that chat with Mario. Attention grabber number 1. I love how hard Mario and his team are working to ensure they're a trustworthy business. Having a great brand, a frictionless transaction process, great reviews and fantastic social proof are just some of the things you could be doing to ensure the same. And in this world of sameness, trust is a massive way to set yourself apart. Attention grabber number 2. I love Mario's infinite respect for his business partner, Alex, and their willingness to have those difficult conversations. If you have a business partner, I would encourage you to sit down, eyeball each other, and ask the hard questions. And attention grabber number 3, I love Mario's rule of 5. If you do anything 5 times in your business, or life for that matter, then it's time to stop and ask if you should be doing it a different way. Well, that's what grabbed my attention. Whatever grabbed yours, be sure to block out some time and implement it. Before we wrap things up, just a reminder that you'll find plenty more where this came from, plus my entire archive full of ideas to grow your business over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. If you're getting value from listening, then don't keep it a secret. Be sure to let other business owners know about it. Next time we catch up with Outland Denim founder James Bartle, whose jeans are worn by the likes of Meghan Markle and Leonardo DiCaprio. It is an awesome story. This podcast was presented by me, Timbo Reid, produced by Matt Dwyer. Until next week, thanks for tuning in. Now get out there and take action.